All right, so welcome back, everybody. The title of our lesson for today is Innovations and Inventions. Again, going along with our unit of Industrialization and Immigration. So our objectives and standards to explain how new inventions, scientific discoveries, and technological innovations fueled growth and improved the standard of living. And our standard there. And our desired result, what innovations and inventions change the lives of Americans? Again, while we go through here, think about a lot of different inventions and innovations that are going to come about in the late 1800s that are going to improve and change the lives of Americans. So driving development. Entrepreneurship, which we talked about in our last lesson, remember people kind of investing their own personal money and finances into ideas or innovation, and also competition, helped drive innovation in the late 1800s. Now, there's going to be an increase in the number of patents or grants by the federal government to inventors to develop their idea exclusively. There's also going to be heavy investment by business leaders taking place in inventions and discoveries, and consumers also welcome new inventions, which are going to also help spur economic development. If people are willing to buy these new inventions or participate in these new innovations, that's going to fuel people to want to come up with new inventions and things like that. So improving life with electricity. Thomas Edison established a research laboratory at Menlo Park, New Jersey in 1876. He was a creative genius who received over 1,000 patents for inventions or discoveries. He also had some financial support from business leaders like J.P. Morgan. And in 1880, Edison and his team are going to invent the light bulb to develop affordable lighting for homes. A few years later, he developed plans for central power plants to be used to light entire cities, and soon others began to apply Edison's work with electricity to other areas as well. So we'll begin to see homes and factories be powered by electrical grids, and this is going to improve the lives of Americans. We're not going to need whale oil or kerosene or oil to light our homes anymore. We're going to need electricity. So changes in communication. In 1844, this gentleman right here, Samuel Morse, perfected telegraph technology, which allowed for sending messages over a wire, kind of like a telephone wire. Then Alexander Graham Bell, this gentleman right here, sorry, I didn't mean to poke him in the eyeball there, but Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone in 1876, and telephone companies will string more than 34,000 miles of telephone wire, and by 1900, there's going to be more than 1 million telephones in the United States. And then 1896, Guglielmo Marconi, down there in the bottom, invented the wireless telegraph in 1896, and he will later develop the radio, So communications are going to improve so that Americans did not have to wait for mail, wait for messages to arrive days and days later, and they could actually speak to someone on the telephone. Like, it seems odd to us today, but, because we do it a lot of time. But, people could actually speak on the telephone and hear that other person's voice on the line. Better building. Henry Bessemer, the top picture there, developed a process in England to purify iron to make lightweight, strong steel. And this quickly becomes known as the Bessemer process. And the Bessemer process will be quickly adapted by the United States, that by 1890, Americans are outproducing Great Britain in terms of steel. Now, the use of steel allowed for new innovations such as skyscrapers and elevators as well. Should be an N there, not a comma. My apologies. Fix that. And elevators. There we go. In 1883, the first suspension bridge, which you see here being developed there, the Brooklyn Bridge, you may have seen it or know of it, was completed across the East River in New York City, New York. So you can see it being developed there. Now, a suspension bridge is when a roadway is suspended by steel cables. Think of the Ben Franklin Bridge in Philadelphia if you're from that area, or the Betsy Ross Bridge. You know, it's above water. It has the cables to hold the roadway above the water, and it connects two things. New ways of transportation. The expansion of railroads is also going to encourage innovation. So in 1869, George Westinghouse, right there, he is going to patent air brakes for trains. And then an African-American, Granville Woods, draw an arrow to him over here, he patented a telegraph system for trains in 1887. And then Gustavus Swift, in the middle there, see if I can draw an arrow here to him. He was a meat packer who developed refrigerated cars for transporting food. So you don't have to worry about your meat going bad if it's being shipped from Texas. You know, this is going to allow for meat from Texas or Oklahoma or whatever, beef, chicken, pork, whatever, to be shipped in these refrigerated cars to the cities. Also, in 1884, because of the conflict between time and time zones and time communication and things like that, 27 countries are going to meet to establish time zones to help with travel and transportation schedules around the world, so there's not conflict of communication and things like that. Improvements in travel. Americans were also impacted by changes in travel. We'll see commuter trains, electric streetcars, and subways begin to appear in cities, so people could now live outside the city and travel to the city for work or leisure. Before that, you had to typically live in the city where you were working, so you could walk the 10 blocks to work, or find another way to work. Now people can live outside the city, in the suburbs, and we'll talk much more about that term later on, to work or to live, and then travel into the city for work and leisure. Maybe they want to go shopping or go to the movies or whatever. In 1902, we'll talk more about this later on, but gasoline-powered engines are going to power automobiles, and Orville and Wilbur Wright, they're on the top picture there, helped advance transportation with experiments in manned flight as well. That's a picture of their first flight, I believe, in 1903. So, meeting the demands. Factory owners and other innovators are going to quickly develop a way to meet the high demand for goods at an inexpensive price. So people are obviously buying, all these items. There's a high demand for them. People really want them. So they're going to come up with this idea of mass production. And mass production is dependent upon machinery to carry out tasks that were once done by hand. Frederick Taylor and others are going to study how the flow of work and workers' places in it impact industry, and this is going to help develop a system of industrial management as well. Management innovations and new technologies helped improve the lives of many Americans to the point that people could afford less expensive products that were produced by these companies. So here's an example. This is shoemaking. This is a shoemaking factory. So you can kind of see that everybody's kind of got their own job. You can kind of see them working on different tasks and doing different things. So again, this is kind of a prime example of mass production, of everybody's kind of moving the products along quickly. Everybody's working on a certain task. Maybe one person's putting the laces on, another person's doing something else. And again, this is mass production to help get these items out to people quicker. All right, so what innovations and inventions changed the lives of Americans? Think about electricity, think about changes in transportation, think about how factories are doing things, and that will help you answer your question. All right, be sure to include this information in your weekly chart. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know, and I hope to talk to you all soon.